Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today's story is called The Guardian of the Ground. It is a heartwarming tale about hard work, responsibility, determination, and kindness. Let's begin. Deep in the heart of the whispering emerald woods, where moss grew as thick as carpets and morning dew sparkled like tiny diamonds, lived a small beetle named Barnaby. Barnaby was a dung beetle. His shiny black shell gleamed in the sunlight, and his 6 strong legs were built for pushing, lifting, and climbing. While many creatures spent their days enjoying sweet flower nectar or resting under the warm sun, Barnaby was always busy. He was one of the hardest working creatures on the forest floor, and he took great pride in his unusual but important job. Every morning, before the sun rose above the tallest trees, Barnaby stepped out of his cozy underground tunnel. He stretched his legs and carefully looked around the forest floor. To most animals, the ground looked like nothing more than dirt and fallen leaves. But to Barnaby, it was a giant puzzle that needed care and attention. He searched for decaying leaves, loose soil, and natural debris. To a dung beetle, these materials were not waste, they were valuable resources. Using his powerful front legs, Barnaby carefully shaped the materials into a perfectly round ball. Once the ball was ready, his real work began. Instead of pulling the ball behind him, Barnaby turned around and pushed it backward using his strong hind legs. The ball was often much larger and heavier than his own body, but Barnaby never complained. He simply lowered his head, dug his tiny claws into the ground, and pushed with all his strength. One bright afternoon, the meadow was full of life. A cheerful grasshopper named Pip practiced his high jumps, leaping from one flower to another. Nearby, 2 beautiful yellow butterflies named Bella and Bonnie fluttered lazily through the air, enjoying the sweet nectar of wildflowers. Meanwhile, Barnaby was working tirelessly on a huge project. He had discovered a rich patch of nutrient-filled soil near an old hollow log. After hours of effort, he created a massive sphere nearly the size of a golf ball, an incredible achievement for such a tiny beetle. Barnaby carefully pushed the heavy ball toward a steep, muddy hill. Beyond the hill was his underground storage area, where he planned to bury the sphere to enrich the soil. As he paused for a moment to catch his breath, a loud laugh echoed from a nearby fern. A group of colorful jewel beetles rested on a large leaf. Their shells sparkled with shades of emerald green, sapphire blue, and bright gold. Their leader, a flashy beetle named Glimmer, looked down at Barnaby and smirked. "Hey, Barnaby," Glimmer called. "Why are you spending such a beautiful day rolling around in the dirt? Look around. The sun is shining, the breeze is perfect, and you're covered in mud pushing a giant ball. Come relax with us." Barnaby smiled politely. "Hello, Glimmer. Hello, everyone," he replied. "It truly is a beautiful day, but if I don't clear these paths and bury this material underground, the forest floor won't stay healthy. When I bury these spheres, they enrich the soil and help flowers and plants grow stronger." Pip landed nearby and shook his head. "That sounds like too much work for one tiny beetle. The forest is huge. You can't clean it all by yourself." Barnaby smiled. "Every little bit helps. If everyone does their part, our home remains beautiful." The jewel beetles laughed. "Suit yourself, Mudroller," Glimmer shouted before flying away with his friends. Soon Barnaby was alone at the bottom of the hill. But he didn't let their words discourage him. He planted his feet firmly into the soft earth and began pushing again. The climb was difficult. Halfway up the hill, his foot slipped on a patch of wet moss. The giant sphere rolled backward. Barnaby lost his balance and tumbled all the way down the slope. Dust flew everywhere. For a moment, Barnaby lay on his back with his legs waving in the air. He was tired, he was sore, and he was covered in dirt. Looking up at the hill, he wondered if it would be easier to quit. But then he remembered why he worked so hard. He thought about the flowers that depended on healthy soil. He thought about the forest he loved. Most importantly, he remembered his responsibility. Barnaby rolled back onto his feet. He brushed the dirt off his shell and walked straight back to the giant sphere. This time he moved more carefully. He avoided the slippery moss and used nearby stones for support. Step by step, he pushed the heavy ball higher and higher. Finally, after one last powerful effort, he reached the top. The sphere rolled safely onto level ground. Barnaby smiled proudly. He had succeeded because he refused to give up. A few days later, dark clouds filled the sky above Emerald Woods. The warm sunshine disappeared. The air became strangely silent. Then suddenly, a powerful windstorm swept through the forest. The wind howled through the trees. Branches snapped. Leaves flew everywhere. Heavy pine cones crashed onto the ground. Small creatures ran in every direction searching for shelter. The storm raged for hours. When it finally ended, the forest looked completely different. Paths were blocked. Large piles of branches covered the ground. Loose soil and debris were scattered everywhere. Worst of all, a huge wall of fallen branches and packed earth trapped Glimmer and the jewel beetles inside their favorite fern. Pip was stuck behind a fallen branch. Bella and Bonnie could barely fly through the dust-filled air. "Help, somebody help us," Glimmer shouted from inside the debris. Barnaby emerged from his underground burrow and surveyed the damage. Unlike the others, he did not panic. Moving soil and heavy objects was exactly what he was built to do. He knew how to work. He knew how to persevere. And he knew that giving up was never an option. "Don't worry," Barnaby called. "I'm coming." Without wasting a moment, he got to work. Using his strong front legs like shovels, he dug through the packed earth. He rolled loose soil into manageable spheres and pushed them away one by one. Pip watched in amazement. "Barnaby, that pile is enormous. You'll never clear all of it." Barnaby continued working. "Then I'll clear it one piece at a time," he replied. Hour after hour, he worked tirelessly. His muscles ached. His shell became covered in dust. But he never stopped. Eventually, he freed Pip from behind the fallen branch. Grateful and inspired, Pip immediately joined him. Together they cleared leaves, twigs, and dirt. Soon they reached the giant wall trapping Glimmer and the jewel beetles. The obstacle looked impossible. Barnaby took a deep breath. He planted his back legs firmly into the earth and pressed his head against a massive section of packed mud. His tiny feet dug grooves into the soft ground as he pushed with every ounce of strength he had. 1, 2, 3. "Push," he shouted. Slowly, the wall began to move. Crack! A large section broke free. Barnaby pushed one final time. The entire barrier collapsed safely outward. Sunlight poured into the trapped area. Glimmer and the other jewel beetles crawled out into the open. They were safe. They were relieved. And they were speechless. Glimmer slowly approached Barnaby. His shiny shell no longer seemed important. "Barnaby," he said quietly, "we laughed at you. We mocked your work. We thought your job was silly." He lowered his head. "But if it weren't for your hard work and determination, we would still be trapped. You saved us." Barnaby smiled kindly. "You don't need to apologize. This forest belongs to all of us. When it suffers, we all suffer. When we care for it, we all benefit." The jewel beetles nodded. Bella and Bonnie fluttered down and gently fanned the dust from Barnaby's face. Then Glimmer spoke again. "We want to help. Show us what to do." From that day forward, Barnaby became a teacher. He showed the jewel beetles how to move debris, roll soil efficiently, and work together. Pip joined the team. Bella and Bonnie helped wherever they could. Soon the entire forest community worked side by side. They laughed together. They sang together. And by sunset, Emerald Woods was cleaner and more beautiful than ever before. The creatures of the forest gave Barnaby a special title: the Guardian of the Ground. They finally understood that true beauty wasn't found in colorful shells or appearances. True beauty came from hard work, kindness, responsibility, and helping others. From that day forward, Barnaby never worked alone again. The creatures of Emerald Woods had learned an important lesson. True greatness comes not from appearance, but from hard work, kindness, and the willingness to help others. Moral of the story: never underestimate the value of hard work. Small efforts done consistently can create great results. True heroes are not those who look impressive, they are those who help others when they are needed most.